So today, what we are going to do is talk about something that is really, really cool. It's Monday, so Monday Motivation Day. A lot of people ask me this a lot. Some of you may know this, but for those of you that don't, I have been a digital nomad for over 15 years now. And if you don't know what that term means, it means that I have been working remotely. I said sayonara to the office and have worked a digital nomad life. I've worked remotely. I haven't had to be tied down to any particular office. And even while I was building Evernote, even while I was helping that team, being on the founding team of Evernote, building $1 billion company, I was working remotely. And that is something that a lot of people aspire to. A lot of people are trying to do that. They want to know how to get started doing that, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that I read about that in the book too, about how to get started with being a digital nomad. And I went about it in a kind of interesting way. So first off, it requires a bit of planning, as you can understand. So there's a couple of things that you need to do to become a digital nomad. First, you need to want to do it. You need to have this overwhelming desire to break free of the office. You can't want to be sitting at a desk 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, having somebody over your shoulder asking for those TPS reports. You can't be sitting there and staring at the clock all day being like, why am I here? For me, the straw that broke the camel's back was I was commuting every single day to an office in Boston. And I noticed that my commute was getting longer and longer and longer. And it was an average of 45 minutes to an hour every day. Like, so tell me, like, who here has that kind of an experience? I mean, I'm sure it's normal for a lot of people when they're commuting. They have that kind of experience, especially if you're in a big city. And I was driving, so at least I got to listen to my own podcasts and radios. Well, this was before podcasts because this was 15 years ago, right? So what I was doing was I was listening to my favorite radio stations, which at the time were Howard Stern, thank God for Sirius XM, love you, and then Opie and Anthony. And so these were awesome things to listen to on the radio and on Sirius, and so no matter where I was, I got to listen to these on the radio, and they were fun, they were joking, they were not real like serious things, because when I got to work, I had to like concentrate on the work that I was doing. And then and no matter what work I was doing, and like I started out in the government, working for NASA. Then I worked in game design, which was super fun, but you have to keep very focused. And then I worked in a hospital. I worked for charitable giving. I did a lot of different things, and all of this required me to be focused in an office. So I needed a break. So I would listen to Howard Stern on the way to work, Opie and Anthony on the way home, and then just chill out. But I had a commute of over 2 hours a day there and back. And it was soul killing. So no matter how much I loved my job, I couldn't stand being in traffic. So that was what broke the camel's back. That's what made me decide I don't want to be in the office anymore. And it was at the time when internet was starting to get better. Like, I was one of the first people on the block that got fiber. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can at least work from home a few days a week, or maybe 1 day a week. And that was something that was new at the time. I suggested it to my boss at Core Street, who was Phil Libin, who then went on to create Evernote. And he was like, yeah, on the days that it's just too bad, you can work from home, and that's fine. So we started with that. And then when I started working for a company called Cyber Grants, which is a charitable giving company, and I write about this in the book too, my husband, he wanted to move out to San Diego. And we were living in Boston, but his problem with Boston was the weather. he got fed up with the temperature, and he was just like, I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm not tied down. I don't have a job. I just want to move to San Diego and live on a sailboat and do that. And I was like, I have a job here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a job so quickly out there. So I went to my boss and I said, hey, what if I start working remotely for this company out in California? Because my clients are actually on the West Coast anyway, so I can open up a West Coast office. So it was really about having the right conversation with my boss about what I could do, what I could service. And then he said, okay, well, you're really an account manager. You can go talk to them. And so I had my job squared away. I already had a job, which was important. And then I talked to the boss, and he allowed me to then go work from California. So that was good. But then my husband, he got a sailboat. So he then decided for us to live on a sailboat, which then made us mobile. And so we were we had a whole different arrangement of, okay, so if we're on a boat, how do we get internet? This is different from living in a house with fiber. And for us, again, the motivation was get out of Boston, get out of jobs, get out of cold weather, go to San Diego, still have a stable job. So for most people, your motivations are get out of the situation you're in to tether yourself to something else or detether. And that was the same thing for us. So when you talk to digital nomads, they all have something similar. And for us, it required planning. The first planning, make sure you have money. Make sure you have a place to live. Make sure you have a reliable source of income. For me, I had my job. I had it relatively stable, and that was fine. We had a place to live, and it was going to be relatively inexpensive as well, because sailboats themselves are expensive to buy, but they're inexpensive to live on. And if you want, you can always just fish and you have food. You're fine. But for most people, what you hear digital nomads do is they go someplace cheap like Thailand or Malaysia or something, because it only costs about $500 to $1,000 a month for them to live, and they're still making their salary in U.S. wages. So they're saving up a lot of money based on what they're doing. But what you don't hear is they've already got the job that they had before, which is what I did as well. So they're missing that piece when they tell you, oh, I've just decided to pack up and move to Thailand. Well, because they already had the contacts. So what I lay out in this book is that if you want to have the digital nomad lifestyle, you have to prepare for it before you do it. You can't just quit your job and then expect to make money doing that. It's kind of like the Instagram influencers that some people are like, oh, well, if I just start an Instagram channel and be a model, I'm going to make a lot of money on Instagram. Well, the dirty little secret of that is only about 5% of the people on Instagram are making a lot of money, and most of them were already famous before doing that, and that's why they can pull in that amount. So you can't, it's a chicken and egg problem. You already have to have money before you can do this thing. So if you build up the trust and the reputation and the influence and all of that with your existing company, with your existing contacts, and you set up savings, and what you normally have to do is have about 6 months of savings for where you're going to go. So if you're going to Thailand and it costs about $1,000 a month to live there, then you need to have about $6,000 in the bank, plus the money for a ticket there and back. And Thailand's going to look at that. They want to know that you have money in the bank to get there and to get out of the country. And then you have to have a certain amount of money for the visa. So when I decided with my husband to go down to Mexico, we got a resident visa. And for the resident visa there, again, they wanted $1,000 a month of income for each of us, proving that it was from outside of the country. And that is standard. That's something that you need from a lot of different countries. If you're thinking of, I just want to move to another country, and just live there and make money somehow. This is not for you. Digital nomads do not just randomly pack up and start working at a bar in another country to make money. You don't just randomly become a freelancer and do that. And I'm not trying to be a bummer. Like, I want you to understand what goes into this lifestyle. It is a lot of work. You will be working. You'll probably be working more than your 9 to 5, but the benefits that you get are phenomenal. So here's a little taste of the kinds of things that I got to do. For one, I would take a lot of meetings from the deck of my boat, while in the background there were blue whales in just giving birth to their babies. And so I wouldn't even notice that, like, on a Skype call behind me, there were whales breaching. And people would just stop talking all of a sudden because they would just be fascinated by something behind me. And then they would just be like, oh, I don't even want to talk to you anymore because it looks so amazing where you are. And I was there because it was so peaceful for me. And it made my work better because I was taking care of myself, because I was taking care of who I was and what I needed to be. For the people that are digital nomads around the world, they're in places like Paris, staring at people walking down the street, having their honeymoons, or just being in Paris and being immersed in the wonder of the Louvre for the first time. And that's inspiring, and that you bring that back into your work. And if you can just take off and go wherever you want and be untethered to an office and still get your work done, then it's probably the most amazing feeling you can have. And if one thing about my book that I can try and get across to you is I'm trying to capture that sense of wonder, of traveling, of being able to create something as amazing as Evernote, something as amazing as a product that, like, over 300 million people around the world use every day to store their memories. Like, you needed to be the type of person that could be in their shoes, that could understand that these people are out there living their lives, having memories, not be stuffed in an office somewhere. So one day, for example, there was a case that we got where somebody had recorded their baby's first heartbeat. Like, they were at the office, the doctor's office, and they had used Evernote to record their baby's first heartbeat the first time they heard it. And unfortunately, it didn't sync properly, so it was stuck on their phone and we couldn't get it to the cloud. And if we were just a normal company going 9 to 5, we probably wouldn't have cared. Like, we probably would have been like, oh, it's just an error, we can't get that for you. But because we were the type of company that were out there experiencing, feeling, sensing, that knew what it was like to feel that feeling of being there in the office, hearing that heartbeat for the first time. We worked for 3 weeks to make sure that we could get that sound file back for him. And we got it. And that's what this book is about. That's what this lifestyle is about. So if you want to learn and feel and understand what it's like to be a digital nomad, to be a scrappy startup, to be all of that, then buy this book, support Serenze Global, get it. You only have 26 days left to buy the copy that will support Serenze Global 100%. So you need to get it now. You need to help us, and you need to share this out to as many people as you can so that we can get this message out to as many people as possible. So 26 days left. Share this out, and thank you so much. The link is in the description.